Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Got a 10-year bourbon banger on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Jack Daniel's 10-year batch 4. So I'm excited about this one. I've been on the hunt for the new Jack Daniel's 14-year, as I'm sure all of you watching probably have been as well. Haven't had any luck with that, but I got a tip that they were dropping a bunch of them at Total Wine. So I stopped into the nearest Total Wine, didn't find the 14, but I actually found the batch 4 10-year and the 12-year from this year. So I lucked out in that way, but still on the hunt for the 14 here. So I'm a fan of Jack Daniel's products in general, anything, you know, kind of above the Old No. 7 Gentleman Jack range. This one comes in at 97 proof. Again, this is batch 4, so this is the 2025 edition. I do have a bottle of batch 2 that I just put in a blind, 10-year blind battle, and it beat out the Russell's 10 LLME, Henry McKenna 10-year, and Eagle Rare. So looking forward to see what this one has to offer. Right off the bat on the nose, this is really nice. It has some traditional Jack Daniel's Brown-Forman sort of notes, a little bit of that banana, kind of maybe like a dark banana bread. The oak is present, but it's not overwhelming. And I remember that from the 10-year batch 2, being that it was well aged, but it wasn't like pushing that over oaked sort of limit. But this smells great on the nose. Just tons of that brown sugar up front. A little bit of the banana, like I said, and just really rich sweetness, some dark, rich caramels. Kind of down the middle bourbon notes, but they're all turned up a little bit on this. So yeah, looking forward to getting into the palate on this one. Let's do it. Cheers. Wow. That's even better than I remember the batch 2 being. That's everything on the nose turned up to 11 on the palate. Surprising at 97 proof. This is really, really bold. But all those deep, rich oak notes, the caramelized wood sugars, the brown sugar, the rich caramel. This is all like all those kind of standard sweet notes. I'm not getting a ton of like fruitiness off of it. There's some barrel spice a little bit. Maybe a little black pepper, but this is just really, really like, I've said before, like baking chocolate chip cookies or something, where you got the brown sugars and the vanillas, or maybe you're baking something that has caramel in it, like all of that sweet stuff, and it's just so rich and well balanced. This is excellent so far. I've only had one sip. It is my first bourbon of the day, Tennessee whiskey of the day. Let's get into another sip here. On that second sip, I definitely got a much darker note. All that sweetness is still there, but the barrel char and kind of like a dark, like a leathery sort of note showed up, and in a good way. There's just nothing bad about this. This is excellent. I'm loving this. So yeah, it really kind of, that balance of those really super rich sweet notes with that barrel char and underneath it kind of like a leathery note, like I said. On some of these well-aged bourbons, and I know 10 years is kind of like just approaching the extra aged level. You know, some of these can get like that bitter tannic note. This doesn't have that at all. The oak is present and the char is present, but it's not off-putting and overly tannic. It's just really, really well balanced with this. It's like if there's spiciness to be had in this, it's from that sort of like oak spice. And so that level of spice combined with those sweet notes just makes a really, really well-balanced bourbon. I'm going to keep saying bourbon because, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Jack Daniel's is bourbon. Fight me about it in the comments. But what I was getting at with these, you know, kind of well-aged bourbons is they get to a point where, at least for me, there's kind of that darkness that's underneath them. It's not just the richness of it, and it's not just extra oaky. They get to take on these kind of like darker flavors that reminds me of what I would imagine like a rick house, like an old, you know, old rick house, like the way people have described that to me. I've never really been in one before. I have to make a trip down to Kentucky at some point. But it reminds me of what that might smell like, if that makes any sense. Because I've heard other people talk about that, and what comes to my mind when they talk about that is what I picture with some of these aged whiskeys, where I think you can just, you taste the age on it, and it doesn't come out just in the oak note. So, and when a whiskey can do that, I'm here for it. So let's go in for one more sip here. Yeah, that just is excellent with every sip. I've got no complaints about this whiskey. Now the price point on it, I picked this up for 95 bucks or 97 bucks. I think that's about average MSRP. Unfortunately, you know, for anything kind of limited release, that $100 price point is becoming very, very normal. I think in this case, I would buy this again. I'll continue buying these if I can still find them, you know, the different batches. So I don't mind paying the price. It is a little bit much for a 10-year 97 proof when you consider some of the other stuff that's on the market. Russell's 10, Eagle Rare. I know Eagle Rare is a little hard to find, but you know, the $100 MSRP is a little bit on the high side for what it is, but it's limited. Jack Daniel's doesn't do a ton of age-stated stuff, or at least they didn't used to. They're starting to now. But that being said, I think the whiskey is excellent. You'll notice I do have another one on the bar top. When I cut away to take that other sip, I figured I might as well grab the batch 2 and do a quick comparison. I'm just going to raw dog these. I'm going no water in between because they're essentially the same thing, just a different batch. This one is 97 proof as well. So let's, I've got the batch 4, the new one on the right, batch 2 on the left. Ooh, there's a difference there for sure. Very similar notes, but the batch 4 is coming across much more bold. Let me make sure the glass is properly rinsed, because that does make a difference. When you have small pours, if there's not whiskey on the side of the glass, it can make it come off as a little bit weaker than it is. And to be honest, I'm getting a little bit of a fruit note on this, a little bit of a light grape, which I don't remember getting before. Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely a difference. All right, I've already sipped this one, so let's go in for the batch 2 here. On first sip, I don't think the batch 2 is nearly as bold as the batch 4. Go back to number 4 here. Okay, so I know that just going back and forth with complete reckless abandon is not always the best way to try whiskeys against each other, but I just wanted to see if there was a noticeable from one, you know, rapid fire to the next one. And drinking them that fast, just one sip after another, they got a little more similar, but I think the batch 4 definitely, at least today, is coming across very, very similar flavor notes, but just a little more turned up. I feel like it's a little more flavorful than the batch 2, but both of them are great. I would say it's a recommend from me. Again, you know, the price point, I guess you kind of have to just grapple with that personally. What you're willing to pay for is, you know, stats are not always everything, but 10-year 97 proof, I mean, I don't know. You should probably be able to sell that for less than 100, but, you know, they're limited, so I guess, you know, that's what you're going to get. So anyway, yeah, as far as the batch 4 goes, which this review is of, it's a great, great whiskey. Like I said before, I'll definitely keep buying these when the batches come out. I'll just deal with the price point because I think the juice in the bottle is drinks at a fairly premium level, where I've had other $100 whiskeys that don't compare to this. So that being said, take that for what it's worth. If you watch this channel with any regularity, you'll know if I've got more than one on the bar, Got to do the blend, so let's do that real quick. I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to taste an awful lot like 10-year aged Jack Daniel's at 97 proof. It certainly smells that way. But you know, sometimes I have found even mixing two, you know, of the same whiskey, just a different batch, sometimes it actually doesn't work out. In this case, I think it does. It really just kind of, so far, smells like both of them individually. Cheers. Yeah, the blend pretty much tastes like them both individually. It feels like it's smoothed out a little bit, but I think that's just from the rapid fire taking sips of each of them as quickly as I did. So anyway, folks, this has been Jack Daniel's 10-year Batch 4 on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.